Welcome back. Let's continue our discussion on factoring. The problem that we have in front of us asks us to determine which one of the choices provided can result in three values, which are 0, -1, and 2. Okay. Now, the first thing you have to do for such an equation or any equation involving factoring is make that expression equal to 0. Remember, in all the factoring problems we did before, we equated the equation to 0, or the equation was already given in such a way that the equation was equal to 0. So if we do that, let's take the first equation and see how we can factor it. See if it will give the three values that we desire. So this equals 0, right? So let's take the x squared out of the bracket because that's a common, we can take up to x squared as a common term, which leaves us with x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. When you have two terms multiplied this way and they're equal to 0, each of the term is equal to 0. So x squared equals 0 implies x equals 0. Well, we can certainly get the first one of the three terms. So this equation could potentially be an option. So let's go and solve the second part of the equation. So this equals 0. So we want -2 squared, right? Because if you multiply these two, we want -2x squared. So how can we get -2x squared? Well, what if we do 2x, -x times plus 2x, right? If you multiply these two, then we get it, right? So what if we substitute this for x? Remember, if you get -2x squared, let me actually erase this. You get -2x squared here. So if we add -2x plus 2x, then that is plus x, right? So what if we just substitute these two terms in place of x? So it's x squared minus x plus 2x minus 2 equals 0. Remember, we're substituting for x in this expression, okay? So if we take this portion and do x minus 1 plus 2, x minus 1 equals 0, right? So now we can combine these two expressions and equal to 0. When these two terms are equal to 0, each of this term is equal to 0. So x equals -2, x equals plus 1. Boom. We do have a value, but the problem is that's not what we want. This is inverse of what we want. Now, the funny part is, you notice, so choice A is incorrect. Choice D, E is incorrect because that is part of this expression. So that's not spending our time. We can now explore choice B, which is x squared minus x minus 2. Now, that is same as if you take x out of, say x squared minus, what I'm trying to do is to group two of the choices together. Now, let's say that is same as x cubed minus x squared minus 2x, because if you factor this, it's x squared minus x minus 2. So if you solve one of this equation and if it works, the other should work. But the problem here is we can't get the x equals 0 part. We can only get within what's within here. This will give best of both worlds. So let's go ahead and solve this one. So if we say x times x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0, then x is equal to 0. Okay, so x squared minus x minus 2, again, x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. So we want -x squared, but we also want -x. So instead of it being -2x plus x will give you -x, right? So we substitute -2x plus x in place of -x. So it's x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2 equals 0. So x, if you take this, the equation in half, then it's 1, because there's nothing here. Keep in mind, 1 times anything is that number, right? So that's why I put 1 here, because we don't have any way of taking something out of the expression. So we substitute 1. This is very unique and important because not every time you're going to get this perfect, you have something to take it out of the bracket. So that means it's x plus 1, x minus 2 equals 0. x equals -1, x equals +2. Bingo, we got it. So this is the correct answer. So this cannot be possible because they are contradicting in ways. This is incorrect because it only gives us x equals -1 and 2. It doesn't mention anything about x equals 0. It does not address that. So hence that is also not the correct answer. The correct answer is choice D. Okay. All right, let's do one more problem in this video and then we'll start a new video. All right, so actually there's two problems. So let's go ahead and solve both of them in this. So just like how we did the very first problem, we want this sort of equation to equate to 0, and it should take the a squared minus b squared formula. Now use our previous knowledge of squares, then we know 36 is 6 squared, x squared, minus 49 is 7 squared, y squared equals 0. We can combine these two terms as 6x squared minus 7y squared equals 0. Now that mimics a squared minus b squared. So it's 6x plus 7y times 6x minus 7y equals 0. Now you can stop the problem right here if they're only asking you for this. If they're asking for a physical value, then that would be 6x equals -7y, x equals -7y by 6. Similarly, 6x equals plus 7y, x equals 7y over 6, right? That's how you solve it. You can have two answers for this problem. The problem could stop here, or here, or here, depending on how they phrase the question. All right, let's finish off this video with another one. And just like I said, you assume f of x equals 0 implies x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. You're going to become an expert by the time you finish this series in factoring and how to split the two numbers. Okay, so we want -3x squared. So which means we can only get 3 when it's multiplied by 1. In other words, if you multiply plus 3x times -x, you're going to get -3 squared. Now, why does the plus go with the 3 and then the negative go with the 1x? Because we want the x to be positive, right? So if you take 3x minus x, then you're going to get plus 2x. So let's substitute 3x minus x in place of 2x. So that means x squared plus 3x minus x minus 3 equals 0. If you split it right here, then it's x times x plus 3. And we take -1 out of the bracket because that's just the way you do it. If we take -1, then it becomes x plus 3. What's critical here is these two terms should look identical. So x minus 1, x plus 3 equals 0. X equals 1 and -3. That's it. That's how you factor or find the roots of the equation, okay? As we do more and more problems along this line, each with a different taste of what they're asking you to do, you're going to get a real grip on the concept of factoring. So stay tuned.